Hey guys, what's up? This is the weekly PNW real estate training. Sometimes we talk about systems, sometimes we talk about contracts or challenges or feedback or culture. And today specifically, we want to talk about culture. Our shorthand or 30-second elevator pitch, of course, is that short mission statement, and that's what lets people know what our unique value proposition is within the real estate market. And the shorthand of that is that we are people-focused, performance-driven. It's one of those terms that we can use over and over and over again that people know that first and primarily our focus is to be people-focused, and secondarily it's to be performance-driven, and that those things can work together in kind of in perfect harmony in a way that there are some people that are just focused on performance, and it can tend to be at the expense of the people that they're trying to serve. And some people try to be so people-focused or people-oriented that it can kind of be at the expense of actually getting something done. And so what we intend to do, both for our clients and for our company and for each other, is to continue to balance out that delicate tension between really helping people and getting the job done, both for yourself and for your clients at the end of the day. Because as we know, as you know, being sometimes in contract with people, we have to deliver them news that isn't fun, whether it's on their inspection or their appraisal or things that they need to do or prepare to get their house ready to list. Those hard conversations are what allow us to serve our clients really, really well. So what does being people-focused mean? People-focused means that we communicate very well, and that means that we listen, first of all, that we listen intently, that we take notes, that as our clients are talking, that we're making eye contact, that we're listening to what they're saying, that we're writing it down, that we're using kind of mirrored and matched language to say is what I heard you saying is, and then repeating that back to them, and then maybe asking why that's important to them in order to be able to make sure that we're understanding both of their drive and their motivation as far as their why. So listening very, very well is huge, and then communicating well, communicating often, not in the sense that it drowns out our clients or in the sense that it overwhelms what they're trying to get across, but in the way that we listen intently, and then that when we speak intentionally in the way that's focused, in the way that's clear, in the way that's concise. As you know, within the real estate industry, a lack of communication tends to be one of the biggest complaints within our industry. And so the way that we deal with that is we turn something that for most of the industry is a liability, we turn it on its head and we make it an asset. We make it something that's a direct value proposition within our clients that we can say over and over again that our goal and being people-focused and performance-driven is to communicate effectively and efficiently and to listen well and to take notes on what's important for them. Another part of communicating well is for asking for feedback, to say, hey, this is how the process is going so far. Anything that we haven't answered for you thus far in the process, any concerns that you might have, anything that we can change to make our service better, anything that we can change in our communication, whether it's something that holistically the team can do to support your client better and our client better. We want to listen and see what we can do to help them, whether it's something that you might be trying to do independently to serve them better. We want to help provide the systems, the context, the structure, the accountability for you to be able to serve them better. And this last thing, as far as being people-focused, is super important, but it's very simple. It's showing up early, and it's showing up 110% mentally prepared to focus solely on your clients. And I am admittedly, this is admittedly hard for me, right? So I have like a lot going on in my head as far as the whole picture and phone calls and text messages and emails that are coming in and conversations that I've had. And so sometimes to be able to focus, whether it's in a 20-minute showing or a series of, many 20-minute showings or within one listing appointment that's even an hour and a half long, it can be difficult for me to truly set aside everything, put everything on pause, put the phone on night mode, whatever it needs to be, or airplane mode, so that I can give my undivided attention to that one client who in the moment ought to feel like they are the only client that I have, or that they are the most important client that we have, and that in that moment they feel that they truly have 100% of our attention. So I hope that makes sense. That's the people-focused specifically part, and then it comes down to being performance-driven. What does that mean? So some of being performance-driven can certainly carry on for being people-focused. Because we care about our clients, we are willing to go above and beyond and to do whatever it takes to see them through from beginning to end in a way that they're experiencing joy and peace in the midst of all the chaos, that they know they have an agent they can trust, they have a team that they can trust and rely upon, and that we're going to navigate them safely throughout the process, that we are going to, on their behalf, always be preparing for the worst, but expecting the best, so that no matter what comes up, even if it's a question that hasn't been answered, even if it's something that they didn't know that they needed to be concerned about or aware of, that once we get to that point, because we have been thinking ahead, that we're able to say, hey, our goal, our intention is to always expect the best and to be prepared for the worst. It's one of those statements that can give our clients a lot of peace of mind to know that because we are performance driven and our goal is to help them get to the closing table, whether it's as a seller or as a buyer, that we're always thinking ahead on their behalf. One of the ways specifically that we do that that's absolutely huge is through the real estate contracts. Now, because in a lot of ways we're acting as real estate attorneys for our clients, for our sellers and buyers, it is really a huge diligence for ourselves to not just be familiar with the general contract, but with the specific contract. In every contract, there might be 20 to 21 pages or more of documents. They're up here in our team board for being able to track the life of a transaction and the life of the contracts. But throughout that transaction, throughout that contract, there could be a myriad of different variables when it comes to contract timelines and dates and numbers and what's included and what's not, and assessments. There are so many things to take into consideration, and it's our responsibility to be familiar enough with the contracts, with the Form 21 and the 22A and the D and the J and the K and all those forms that are in there, that when they have a question, that we're able to hopefully recollect from our experience both studying the contracts and our experience within other clients, and then also leverage the experience of our team to be able to give them an answer. And if we don't have an answer, to get back to them promptly. Now, again, this is something that I've been guilty about myself before, but here's my encouragement to you when it comes to contracts. Read the contract once when you receive it. Read it a second time before you present it to your clients to make sure you fully understand all the terms when they might come up. Read it again right before you get it maybe signed by the other party and you're heading into contract as a final review. And of course, the transaction coordinator and the team lead, myself, is reviewing that contract with you. And then once you're in contract, here's the huge key. It's revisiting and rereading that contract, reviewing that contract on a consistent basis over and over and over again as you're going through the timelines. And the tendency can be to read the contract once and to say, hey, we'll deal with the inspection when that comes, we'll deal with financing when that comes, but to really be familiar enough with each individual independent transaction and contract and client that we're able to say to our clients, hey, this timeline is going to be coming up soon, and then shortly after this other timeline. And so we're trying to think ahead, we're trying to expect the best, but be prepared for the worst. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is to communicate effectively and efficiently as much as possible. Now, of course, there's a balance to that as well, because if you, as an agent, if you're communicating everything throughout the transaction, your client might get super overwhelmed or stressed out or anxious. So our goal is to communicate just enough about the contracts that they know that we're always thinking ahead for them, and that we're always reading, reviewing, and evaluating the contracts and evaluating how the timelines and contingencies change as we get further and further through the contract. So that's a huge one. Negotiating on behalf of our clients is also a really big deal when it comes to being performance driven. It means that sometimes, as representing sellers, there might be things that I think, this would really be easier if the seller just took care of it. It's kind of a reasonable thing to address, and we don't really want to lose this buyer. So let's just tell the sellers they really ought to get this done. And if they trust us, they might. But the best thing to do sometimes is to say, hey, here's the easy thing to do, but what's the best thing that I can do? And sometimes, it's a different question between what do I absolutely have to do and what is the absolute best that I can do? What is the absolute best that I can offer my client or my team or my community at large when it comes to real estate representation and raising the standard of excellence? And so that means even when it's difficult to say, hey, maybe it's reasonable to do this amount of repairs, but let me see if I can give my client even better representation through a verbal negotiation, through an explanation, through another strategy, through reading or understanding negotiation tactics at another level. And for my buyer, maybe what their bottom line is. Maybe that they're willing to move forward in this house no matter what. That doesn't mean that we ought to just tell them to, satisfy the contingency and move forward. Sometimes that means that even if, we might know what their bottom line is, that we're still going to try to fight, to negotiate, to have conversations around, to articulate on behalf of our buyers where they might be able to even get a better value. And that's where you build brand champions, whether it's on the seller side or the buyer side, is when you're able to communicate to your clients, hey, I know what your absolute bottom line is, and my goal is to raise that standard for you. That's absolutely huge. Now, the last thing that you can do that's huge, and maybe not the last thing, but at least for the sake of this video, is attending trainings, which you're currently doing. Anything that you know that your specific niche of clients is very interested in, my encouragement to you is to attend those trainings and to implement that and leverage that by letting your clients know, hey, I'm always, as a people-focused, performance-driven company and individual, what I'm always focusing on is bettering myself through training. Maybe it's luxury training, or maybe it's international agency training, or maybe it's VA training or some other niche for new construction. Whatever it might be, find out what you're great at, find out what you enjoy, and drive deeper and deeper into that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and the other ones that we have as training videos. Hopefully it's helpful for you. If you have any questions as you're working through contracts, culture, systems, anything else that we have within the PNW team at Keller Williams, feel free to reach out anytime, call, text, or email. Thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you at the office.